Hello guys. We already talked about formations, conditional orders, adaptability, and other aspects of tactics management. Now I will give you some examples of how I build my tactics based on all that I mentioned before. If you did not watch the videos I made about tactics, check the playlist you see in the cards now. You'll find all the videos there. Anyway, if at any point you have questions, just write down in the comments and I will reply to the best of my knowledge. What I'm going to show you here is just a sample of my tactics for a specific match, my next match. Depending on my opponent, I could make different choices. Then don't take what I'm going to say here as universal rules. For my next match, I chose this formation with no side defenders and with just one defensive midfielder. Thankfully, I have all of my players available. Then I can make my best lineup. This is the best lineup I can set in this formation. As you can see, I have 5 foreign players. These three, this one, and this one, which is the maximum you can have. I am also taking advantage of the routine line sharing, as I have one guy with low routine in each line. This guy in the defensive line, this one in the midfield line. In the attacking line, actually, I don't have because this guy completed 40 already. This other one is more experienced. In my defensive line, I chose to put this guy in the middle because he has the highest heading. The others have lower heading. I don't know if it makes any difference in the aging of the game. Maybe not, but it makes sense to me. Then I usually do that. I put the one with best heading in the middle. I also have one improvised player. This one, as you see this smiley face, is because he's improvised. I only do that because he allows me to. As you see, he has good skills for any position on the field and he has adaptability 19. So he has a very little loss when I change him out of his favorite positions. Then it's okay to play him as a left midfielder. In the future, depending on the next players I hire, maybe I can play him in his favorite positions. As you know, I have scripts on many of my pages in the game, which help me to make many decisions. For instance, regarding tactics. Here in this page you see many scripts activated. In the tactics page I have some that I'm not currently used, but I have them there. And I showed all of them in previous videos that I made. I also gave explanations about scripts, what they are, how you can get them. If you haven't seen such videos yet, check the playlist you see in the cards now about scripts. Then you can find all of them. For my captain and set pieces takers, I chose according to what I should analyze, which I already explained in a previous video, so I will not repeat here. These are my best options. And I recently changed my captain. If you check previous videos, you see that a different guy was the captain before. I sold that guy because he was kind of old already and he was not so good anymore. He was losing skills. Then I sold him. He used to play here. Now I hired this guy to play here. He's much better. Then this one is my new captain at the moment. On the bench, I have those guys. I also made a video explaining how you should choose the guys to put here. You see here that I don't have a goalkeeper. See, all of my players are outfield players. I don't have it because I don't need. My goalkeeper, let me show you his profile. He has injury proneness 1. From my experience, I see that guys who have injury proneness 1 don't get injured at all. Never. At least I've never seen it happen. So I don't waste that spot with a goalkeeper. I don't even buy a reserve goalkeeper because of that, okay? This guy never gets injured. Instead, I keep this extra guy here. Later I will explain to you, when I'm talking about the conditional orders, why I put him here in the goalkeeper position. And you can see the other players I have, okay? Each one is adequate to the positions they can enter on the field in case they are needed. Therefore, I don't need to set any conditional order for injuries, as you'll see later, okay? Because any injury that happens in the game will be properly covered by my guys on the bench. In the advanced settings, you can see here the mentality I chose for my next match, attacking style, and focus site. And down here, the conditional orders. I will go through each of them with you now. Let me go back to the top. I'm at the bottom now. Okay, this first order, in case I have any player sent off, I tell this guy here to come back to play as a defensive midfielder. Okay, it's one of his favorite positions. Other thing that I do, in case any player is sent off, is to take off this striker and then put this guy. Okay, and I put him to play as a defender, as a center defender. Why do I do that? Because then, if any of these three players are sent off, this guy goes out and this one comes in. So with a single conditional order, I'm covering three players being sent off. Understand? Then you may think, what if other of your players is sent off? For example, if this guy is sent off, then this one will come out, this one will come in, but he doesn't fit here because I have three here already. Then, as I told you in previous videos, this guy will enter as a striker here. Okay? But after that, I have my third conditional order, which says that if this guy is sent off, this one who will enter should come to play as a center midfielder. Understand? In this part that I'm explaining now, sometimes it may get confusing, so I'll tell you to pay close attention to that so that you don't get lost, okay? Anyway, if needed, you can always pause the video to properly comprehend or go back some seconds to listen to what I said once more, okay? So what happened in case this guy is sent off? Since he's sent off, he cannot come to play as a defensive midfielder. Then this guy comes out and this one enters. He will be placed as the striker in this situation. But then the third conditional order comes and they take him from the striker position to the midfielder position. Understand? Okay. Then this guy, my other midfielder, in case he's sent off, this one who entered due to the second order, he's here. He's gonna come to the midfield. He's gonna play as a center midfielder. Okay? In case this guy is sent off, remember, no matter who is sent off, this guy comes to play as a defensive midfielder, and this one here enters replacing this one, okay? So whenever a player is sent off, this guy is on the field. If I have my right winger sent off, I tell this guy to come to play as a right winger, okay? As you see here. Then on my conditional order number 6 is the other winger. In case he's sent off, I tell this guy to go to play there. In case the defensive midfielder is sent off, the same. I tell this guy to come to play here. He's gonna be here. I tell him to come here. Okay. And this other guy, he's not in the match yet. He's on the bench. But later you see that I have a conditional order to put him on the field. After he's on the field, if he's sent off, then I go back to the beginning. This guy comes to play as a defensive midfielder. This one is gonna be here. Then he comes replacing this guy after he enters. Okay, as a defensive midfielder because he's gonna enter here. Okay, it can be confusing, but I hope it's clear for you to understand so far. But now you may think, whoa, this guy is a phenomenon. He can play in any position of the field. Yeah, kinda. Actually, he's not one of my best players. If you check his skills, he's not good enough to play in my first team. But if you check his profile, let me show you. He has reasonable skills for most positions. I just don't play him as a striker, but for any other position I can play him and he's okay. He has these favorite positions and he has adaptability 19, just like the other guy. Then, if I play him as a winger, for example, he has 102. He's not so good for my level, but it's okay. If a guy sent off is an emergency, I can use him. Okay, for these other positions as well. Just for striker, he's not that good. And you see that for one of his favorite positions, he's actually not that good. But when I need, I play him there anyway. It's not that bad. That's why I put him to play everywhere, almost. Okay? Because of his adaptability and also his skills. The fact that I use him in so many positions, in so many situations, is the reason why I put him here in the goalkeeper position. Because, as I told you, my goalkeeper will not get injured. Then this guy will never automatically enter in the game. If I put him, for example, here in the defender position, where his favorite position is, it can happen that one of these guys is injured, then he would enter. After he enters, I lose all these conditional orders because all of them involve him. Understand? Instead of that, I leave a normal defender, which is even better than him here. Then, if one of of these guys get injured, this guy enters, and later, if anyone gets sent off, this guy will enter to properly cover the empty space. Understand? The same with this guy, for example. He can play as a defensive midfielder and as a midfielder. And he, in both positions, actually not in both, but as a defensive midfielder, he is better than this one. Then, if someone from here gets injured, this guy enters. If I left this one here, I would lose all of the conditional orders. Okay? I hope you understood. After all these orders for players being sent off, I have these two in case this or this player, one of them, gets a yellow card. I take them off and I put my substitute for the defense. I do that because these guys are extremely aggressive. Let me show you their profile. This is one of them. See, he has 18 in aggression. This is the other one. He also has 18 in aggression. Therefore, they can be easily sent off. Then, in order not to lose a player, whenever they get a yellow card, I just take them off and I put this guy. In the past, I didn't have these two conditional orders. I already lost many important matches because of one of these guys, especially this one, who's less experienced. He's just sent off many times. And look how well my conditional orders are working together. After this guy enters, he may be sent off too. It can happen. But later, if he is sent off, he's a defender. That second order will work. See, this player will get off and this one will enter as a central defender. Okay? As I told you, the conditional orders keep happening whenever they are possible. Now on the third page, these are some changes I make in case my team is losing. At the minute 7, if my team is losing, I bring this guy back. I tell my team to play attacking style direct, and I change the mentality to slightly attacking. I start with slightly defensive, but in case my team is losing by here, I change to slightly attacking. The next three orders are the same thing. I just change the minute because maybe at 70 it's a draw, not that bad, but at 75 I concede a goal. Then these orders will not be executed. Therefore, I have this other one after them, okay, for this reason. You may think that I'm making my team more defensive with this change because like I'm losing and I'm taking a center midfielder and bringing him to be a defensive midfielder. But I don't have much to do to make my team more offensive. This guy, for example, he's a striker. But when I put him here, when you play with three guys here, I tried sometimes, but it usually doesn't work well. You should avoid playing with more than two guys here in front. Even if I put him here, it doesn't work so well. I don't like this change. I tested and it didn't work well, so I don't do it anymore. I could do something like this, but then I will need more than one conditional order. I don't have space. I'm currently using my 20. Maybe after they implement 30 conditional orders, I can think about how I can improve it. But for now, I don't have space for that. Then the only thing I do is to bring this guy back. And since I changed the attacking style to direct, it's a good thing if you check the user guide when you play direct. It's good that when you have a defensive formation, you have more guys behind. The attacking style will be more effective. Okay, so this change seems defensive, but it's not so defensive. It can actually bring the team forward. Let me set it back correctly. Then on the next page, This one I talked about already. It comes together with these two. Then I have these two changes that I use just to give routine for these two players. They are young still, they have low routine. Then by the minute 90 I always change them. I put this to play here and this one to play here. Okay. I would prefer to put this guy replacing this one because this one is a better striker. But this one I use for the conditional orders here. See? Then if I take him off, someone may be sent off later and I cannot make this change anymore. Understand? That's why I take this one to put this one. And finally, I have these two here. These are changes I make due to the stamina effect. These two guys, this one and this one, they have 17 in stamina. For my level, it's not good. They drop the skills considerably. By the minute 65, they are still okay. I don't take them out. But by the minute 7, their substitutes are already better than them. Then I put this guy replacing this one and this one replacing this one. Okay? This is the moment I need that extra conditional order. This guy. See? He's not on the field at the beginning, but later he will enter replacing this one. Okay? Then, in case he's sent off, this special guy goes to his place. All of these points that I mentioned here, I also apply on my extra team, which has its own series of videos. I show many of my tactical decisions there, together with general topics about the team. It may be interesting for you to see a younger, less developed team that probably should be closer to the teams that most of you have. There are lots of differences, as you see. If you are not following the series yet, it's time for you to start. Check the playlist you see in the cards now. Then you can go there and see all the videos. I hope that my explanations were clear and that you could understand my tactical choices for my next match. Especially in the conditional orders, it can be a bit confusing, but just watch. You can pause in the middle, you can watch it over one, twice, three times if you need. Then you should understand. It's not so complicated. That's all for this video, guys. If you have questions, write them down below. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. See you soon.